Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again for you with another beer review. For this one we're going to return to Iceland and continue on with that little mini series of beer reviews that I've been doing for you. So we're going to return to Gæðingur Öl and have a taste of their Hveitibjór, which is a German style Hefeweizen. I'm not sure whether the literal transnailing of Hveitibjór is a white beer or a wheat beer. It's one of the two, but it's definitely a German style Hefeweizen, this one. But as is usual with my beer reviews, then we'll go through a very short history of the brewery. It is very short, but if you don't want to stick with me for that, just fast forward a few minutes into the video and you'll get straight there. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, although I'll point out that it is all in Icelandic, so you probably need to be fluent in Icelandic to understand it. And there's also going to be a link down there to my other Gæðingur Öl reviews. There's already one up and there will be another one coming in the next day or two, so check that out if you are interested. But anyway, Gæðingur Öl was formed, it's a brewery from Skagafjordur in Iceland, and it was formed with the intention of increasing the prominence of craft beer in Iceland. They've got a very kind of small but quite rapidly growing market for craft beer over there. All of the alcohol shops in Iceland, incidentally, are owned by the state Vinbuden, and they don't have that great a selection of beer actually for them just now. They've got a few American things come in, some Dutch and Belgian stuff, and the odd German thing as well, but they're really starting to make up their own beers, and the Icelandic beer, I think, give it a few years and it'll be even better than it is just now. It's very good as it stands, but let them have a few more years to develop and there'll be some really cool stuff coming out of there. But the name Gæðingur means thoroughbred, and it refers to the many horses you'll find going around Iceland. In Scotland we have the little Shetland ponies that are kind of our trademark horse, if you like. We also have the Clydesdales as well, but in Iceland they have something that's slightly bigger than a Shetland pony. It's almost just like a slightly bigger version of that exact horse, if you like. But you find these horses kind of all dotted around Iceland if you drive around the ring road. But if you're driving around the ring road, you need to watch out for the kamikaze sheep. But the brewery is owned by Arnie, who is apparently both a farmer and a speech therapist, and he's helped out by Birgit, who is also a partner in the brewery, and she's a seamstress as well. And there's also Doughy, who helps out in the brewery as well. I think he's mainly involved with the brewing operation. But the actual brewery operation is very small. They only have a small 6-barrel plant, and this plant was actually built in Britain and exported over to Iceland. And the company also own Microbar in Reykjavik as well, so you can go there and try a lot of different Icelandic craft beers, and you can get all the Gæðingur stuff actually on tap as well, and it's even better on tap. I've tried all of them out of the bottle, I think, but on tap they're just absolutely amazing. Hopefully the Icelandic beer market starts to pick up a little bit more and we start to get the exports over to Scotland. But some really nice beer out of Iceland, and if you do find yourself in Reykjavik, go and check out Microbar. It's just in the little square where the town house is, actually a very nice little craft beer bar. But the brewery brew 4 main beers. That's their lager, which is the white label one. They all kind of have this very similar type of artwork, if you like. So you have the lager, which is the white label, the pale ale, which is the green one, the stout, which is the black label. You have this guy here, which is the wheat beer, the yellow label, and you get Tumi Humal IPA, which is the purple label. That's the one I've reviewed for you already. And they also have a Christmas special beer as well, which, if I'm not mistaken, has a blue and red label. So keep an eye out for those. If you find yourself stopping over in Iceland, you might be able to pick up some of these Icelandic beers. Very nice stuff, like I say. But anyway, let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. I had this one, my friend Grant, who I went to Iceland with, gave me a sip of this one, but I've not drunk a kind of bigger amount of it, if you like. So we'll get this guy out and get on with the tasting here. It's a 5.2% German Hefeweizen. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. It's a kind of similar style of artwork on it here. It reminds me of some of these kind of stickman games that you can play on the internet, if you like. I think it's really cool. But you can see that's the horse on this one there, and they all have this kind of exact same style of artwork, but you've usually got different little pictures for each different style of beer in the sort of crest there. But really cool. 5.2% alcohol. You can see there's the Icelandic writing on the side there. I'm nowhere near fluent in Icelandic, so I'm not even going to try and read it. But the interesting thing about Icelandic is I was told don't try and speak Icelandic to the Icelandic people because they just won't get what you're trying to say. But if you do ask an Icelandic person, oh, do you say this word like that? For me, being Scottish, you can kind of get an idea of what the words mean. The language does sound as it looks in my experience. But we'll get this guy out and into the glass anyway. That's me rambling on a little bit, but here we go. As you can see, a nice smoky opening on the beer there. It's a shame we don't get more Icelandic beers in Scotland. I mean, it's really weird. Iceland's about a 2-hour flight, if that, away from Scotland. And we get like a lot more New Zealand lamb and stuff like that. There's a lot of good meat up in Iceland, like puffin and lamb and sheep and stuff like that, but we get all of our lamb exported to us or imported from New Zealand, and I don't know why we don't kind of trade a little bit more with the Icelandics. And there's some really good food up there. I would really recommend that you go to Iceland. It's a very naturally pretty place, and an absolutely beautiful country, and the people are very, very considerate, very, very friendly people. They like Scots as well, which is quite funny. Everyone kind of seems to like us wherever we go, which is unusual because I guess most of the time we're always drunk, so that's it. But that's a different story. So as you can see, this beer has poured a very nice kind of bright yellow amber colour. There was about a half finger of a frothy white head, but that's just fading away to be a very thin kind of foamy layer at the moment. It's quite an attractive looking beer. There's a little bit of sediment just kind of gone down into the bottom of the glass there, but as you can see, it's not transparent at all. It's quite opaque. If I put my fingers behind it, you can't really see anything, any of my fingers kind of coming through the glass there. But let's give it a smell and see how we get on here. It smells like a typical German Hefeweizen, if you like. It has a little bit of an element of a Belgian wit at the same time, and I'm sure that was my thought when I tried this initially, was that it was somewhere between a German Hefeweizen and a Belgian wit. It wasn't exactly a straight out German Hefeweizen, but you've got a lot of kind of banana and yeasty character coming out of this, which is what you would expect. You can pick up a little bit of the kind of coriander spice underneath this, and it's got a good bit of kind of sort of citrusy and grassy hop. It's that kind of, it has a little bit of that kind of bubblegum sugar sort of thing, candied sugar that you expect of this beer style. Quite typical. It's got a typical nose for the style. I mean, I've done quite a few Hefeweizen reviews for you already, and this one, it's another typical example in terms of the aroma. You can smell that it's quite fresh as well, though. You can get a little hint of the kind of mineral character of the water. I will say that. That's a little unique point in the aroma here. But yeah, it's a very nice smelling beer. Typical elements, as I say, of all the Hefeweizens. A nice big bready banana and yeasty character coming out of this one. Quite doughy as well, actually. A little bit of coriander spice in there, and some grassy kind of lemony citric hops coming out as well. And you've got that kind of bubblegum sort of acidic-y sugar that comes out as well. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on here. So this is Gæðingur Öl Hveitibjór. It's a lot. When I tried it the first time, I thought it was quite a bit more acidic than that, but it's actually quite smooth. It's quite a nice, smooth, doughy kind of flavour that you get from this one mainly. Yeah, the main component of the flavour in this one is that it's really quite a nice big doughy flavour that's coming out. Doughy, kind of white bready, yeasty character that's in this. And you've got just a little tiny bit of kind of wheaty spice in there, a little bit of coriander coming out as well. But it just kind of blankets your tongue with a big white bready kind of yeasty blanket of flavour, really. You've got a little bit of the kind of the grassy hop and kind of citricy lemon just goes around the front edges of the tongue. It doesn't spread back too much, but you've got that little kind of lemony citric flavour just sitting right on the front of the tongue there. Yeah, it has a little tiny bit of a kind of juicy fruity character that comes out at the front of the tongue, but the grassy element of the flavour is just sitting there. It's, as I say, it's not too acidic-y, but you can pick up just a little bit of the kind of typical bubblegum sort of candied sugar flavour that you get from this one. Yeah, that kind of, it's a lot smoother than I remember. I remember it being quite sharp and quite acidic, but maybe it's because I had a little bit of a drink of water before I did this one. But it's definitely, it's quite smooth. I think, if I remember rightly on tap, it is just a little bit sharper in terms of the hop character. You get a bit more grassiness and a bit more kind of lemony, citric, juicy character coming out of it as well. And that kind of bubblegum candied sugar is a little bit sweeter as well. It's a little bit more acidic on tap, if I remember. But yeah, a nice big doughy kind of bread malt base on this one. Big white bread there. some nice wheaty kind of spice character mixed in, and definitely a little bit of coriander spice there. That kind of coriander just kind of sits a little bit towards the edges at the back of the tongue there. It's very, very nice. The flavour of this one blends together very well, and that's the thing. There's nothing that's too prominent in the aroma, or the flavour, sorry, but it just mixes and blends together very well. It comes in with that nice kind of juicy hop character, then gives way to the kind of big bready doughy yeast thing that you expect from the Hefeweizen, and then in the aftertaste you've just got a teeny tiny little bit of the hop character sitting towards the front of the tongue, and then you've got that big blanket of bready, yeasty, banana-y flavour sitting there. It blends very, very well, and what I would say with this one, as is quite typical with the Icelandic beers, it does have an element of flavour from the kind of local Icelandic water, if you like. It's definitely got a kind of minerally edge to it, and it's quite nice actually. If you've tried, those of you watching in America and Canada and Australia and things like that will probably have tried Einstök beer. If you've had Icelandic beer at all, it will be Einstök that you've had, and you'll notice that in those beers there you do pick up the nice kind of sort of soft element from the water, and this guy has it as well. I found all of the Icelandic beer does have that quite high minerally water. I'm not sure if you describe that as being hard water when it's got a lot of minerals in it, but it's a very, very, it gives you a very nice kind of fresh and unusual feel. But that's something I quite like, being Scottish. Obviously our water's quite high in minerals here as well, but you taste the difference in the Icelandic water, of course, and that's one of the kind of key selling points of Icelandic beer, I guess, is the sort of glacier water that comes down the hills there. But overall, I mean, it's quite a nice take. It's an interesting take on a German Hefeweizen beer. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I'd say it's quite light bodied actually. It's got a kind of moderate carbonation. It's quite small bubbles, I would say. It doesn't have too much of an attack, but it comes in a little bit sharp on the opening, and that brings out the nice little opening of the grassy and sort of citricy hop character. It just attacks the tongue a little bit, and then it kind of smooths out, and it's got it's actually a little bit dry in the finish. That's when the hop character kind of starts to kick in a little bit more, and the bread character becomes a little bit more kind of subdued, if that makes sense. But it's very, very nice, this one. As I say, it's quite a unique taste on a German Hefeweizen, and I would recommend that you go and have a look at Microbar in Reykjavik and have a taste of this beer on tap. It's a little bit more acidic, as I said, and the malt is a little bit more sweet, if that makes sense. The whole beer is just a little bit sweeter, but the bottle conditioned version is very, very nice. It's very smooth, a nice interesting blend of flavours, and it does have a little bit of a unique element to the style because of the Icelandic water. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As I say, go and check out Gæðingur Öl. They've got some quite interesting beers there. They're quite a unique take on quite well established styles, if you like. But I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Please let me know in the comment section your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before. And as always, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you're enjoying this kind of mini Icelandic series of beer reviews. I'll apologise to my Icelandic viewers if I'm butchering your language in any way when I'm trying to pronounce some of these places. But I hope you enjoy the reviews nonetheless. And please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. And I'll catch you soon with my next beer review. Cheers.